Before I dive into any of my sets and start mapping, I always give a quick lash bath. That way, if I put any markings on my client's eyelid, which I am gonna do today, then I have a foundation. I don't have to worry about accidentally cleansing it away once I start lashing. You don't have any sensitivities or anything, do you?
No, I should be okay.
Perfect. I'll still use a sensitive one just in case.
Okay.
Because I've never done your lashes before, so I like to take precaution. I'm gonna put Freshie, which is like a product that absorbs glue fumes and stuff on the side of your face. I always do that when I'm lashing new people, just because you can never be too safe. So when I'm cleansing, I want to maximize my retention, and how I do that is by getting all the way down to the root of the natural lashes. That's where the oils from our skin will collect, and that's where we have to make our connection between our extensions and our natural lash. So that's the most important spot. Also, if you're someone who struggles to keep eye pads in one place, cleanse under the eye like I'm doing right now and on the lid. If you're someone who wants to use eye pad isolation techniques, tape techniques, or any type of layering techniques, definitely get up on that eyelid, or the pads or tapes will have trouble sticking due to the oils in the skin. Make sure you use a fine bristled brush to get that deep cleanse. When I'm working on new clients, I always work with Sensi Bath just to make sure. You can never be sure if a client is going to have a sensitivity, so always take precautions until you get to know your client. Rinsing the product off the lashes is equally as important as putting it on. If you don't rid all the lashes of the cleanser that you're using, then you might also have retention issues. So be sure to double rinse, and don't be afraid to get in around the base of the natural lashes when you're washing the product off. I also suggest using a foam cleanser only when cleansing. They do act as a makeup remover as well, so it's super effective, but it's not as hard to rinse off the natural lashes, so it proves to be much more successful. Now we need to start planning our mapping. So particularly for Emily, our model today, she has very rounded eyes. The outer corners, they do descend quite a bit. Any clients who have rounded eyes, you can totally do any shaping on them. It will look good, but you do have to be careful because we don't want to droop that outer corner at all. And we can do that by directing our lashes toward the ear or by placing our longest lengths on the outer corner. So we want to avoid both of those things. When we're working with direction, we really need to direct up towards the eyebrow, not out towards the ear, no matter what direction the natural lash points. And when we're working with spikes and shaping, we want to make sure that we plan all of this out with the eyes open to take into account the arch of the eye. So the goal for today is for our spikes to really start standing out where the eyebrow starts to lift. So my first spike is going to be about here. And I'm lining it up. If she were to close her eyes, close up, see, you can't see where the arch of the eye is. How are you properly going to plan your set if you can't see the lifts and dips of the eye shape? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna put dots on where I want the main longest spikes to be, and then from there, I'm gonna know that in between every single spike is going to be another spike that's gonna be 1 millimeter or 2 shorter. So that's gonna give me that pieciness, and it's gonna make it so the set doesn't look like it's all one length across the top. It's gonna give that staggeredness. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect. So we got even spacing, even spikes here, and then I'm gonna continue the spike situation over, but I'm gonna make this line higher because I know this is the highest point of the eye. I'm gonna put another dot above it. You can make your markings look like anything you need them to. And don't worry, this comes off with lash bath at the end of the service, so it's all good.
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and continue with those spikes, knowing that this is where my longest length starts, right here. And that's the highest point. So I'm gonna get a nice arch in the middle, but not too crazy. Perfect. Okay, we got even spikes across the eye. Now I want to build the length. So I'm going to go all the way to 18 millimeter out here, my longest point. So this is a really important part. So So where those two dots are in the middle part of the eye here, that's my middle part. I'm gonna switch curls here. So from this point to the inner corner it's gonna be C curl. From those two dots to the outer corner, I need extra lift because I'm fighting against the downward swoop of the eye. So I'm gonna bump my curl up to a D curl here. So we're doing C curl, D curl. That's gonna give me that extra openness on the outer corner, and it's gonna make everything mesh beautifully together. So I'm gonna start with just my top layer, start with my spikes. I'm gonna see how that looks shaping wise, and then from there, I'm gonna build the shape. A nice iPad trick for someone who has rounded eyes is to place the iPads just a little bit further from the lash line and then put a little piece of micro pore tape closer to the eye. When I find with rounded eyes, if we talk during services, the pads do seem to move up a little bit, and I'm constantly fighting against the pads being too close to the eye. So by using this hack, usually the iPads stay in one place. And I always detack my tape before putting it on, because you never know how absorbent someone's skin can be. So make sure your hands are sanitized. So what I'm doing right now is putting 2 millimeters shorter inside of the lines of the longest lengths that I've already placed on my mapping. That's gonna be my additional spikes. So the top layer is gonna be basically 100% spikes, and we're gonna do longer lengths and then 2 millimeters shorter. So we're gonna alternate between the spikes, the spike lengths on the top layer. And then for the rest of the lashes that are left over outside of putting these spikes, I'm gonna do another 2 millimeters shorter. That's gonna give me that extra density, that darkness, and extra texture. Next, I need the right tools. So I've got my lashes set up here for my spikes. I'm gonna start on the outer corner with my D-curl lashes. Got them here. To create spiked lashes, I have the best hack ever. So first I need foreplay product and a micro swab applicator. This creates perfect spikes for me. Look at that. How satisfying is that? This product also combats humidity fluctuations within your room, and it can be used along the base of the lashes for easier release as well. So for my D-curl, I only go down to 14 millimeter length. So I did until 17, but I'm gonna see. If I end up having to add some 17s in, I will, but I wanna look along the way. That's what my inspection mirror is for. I'm gonna work with the ultra curved isolation tweezer for my isolation, and I'm gonna work with my sweet spot volume tweezer for my wet lash bands. And since direction on the outer corner is of utmost importance, it's the place that I'm gonna start because it takes the most focus. I'm looking for that top layer placement, but this lash looks pretty rogue. I think I'm gonna leave that one and try to find another one. Now the natural lash curves to the right. I need to place my extension on the left and make sure that I direct it up, not out. I'm working with Quickie adhesive because it's a 1-second cure time, which I personally find amazing for handmade volume. That way I'm not sitting there waiting for the fans to connect. It's just instant grab and go. Spike number 1 applied. Now let's move to the other eye and do the same thing. By working eye to eye, we're always creating symmetry. Especially when working with textured lash sets, symmetry is of utmost importance. Like I said, I'm working with decurl on the outer corner to offer extra lift. And when you're placing spikes too, another thing that can throw off your set is if you don't notice where you're placing in respect to the lash line. If you place too far away from the lash line, your spike can look a different length than you had planned. So make sure that you're consistently placing them an equal distance away from the lash line. If you want to learn how to create wet lash spikes like this, well, firstly, we have a pre-made spike option, so they're already created for you if you're a pre-made fan artist. But we also have an advanced textured course, so that's meant to help those who are wanting to master any type of wispy lash set. It's more than just that though. It's about all the fine details of lashing. We believe at Lost Artistry that if you can master the art of advanced wispy styles, then you can master anything. You can do anything because they really do take a lot of skill. And that course is done 100% online. Learn at your own pace. You get 10% off Lost Artistry products and trainings for life, and it's super inexpensive. Okay, so my entire top layer is basically finished. I've added tons of spikes in there. You can see it's coming along. Lots of texture, long lengths, and all wet lash spikes. Now it's time for me to build the darkness of the set. So I'm gonna go in on the bottom layer. Look, you can see here. If I lift back that top layer, the bottom layer has been 100% unlashed. So now it's time for me to put semi-open fans down there to create a nice, dark, just beautiful effect. It's really gonna bring the set together. Let's look at what my semi-open fans look like.